Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I don't have a whole lot of a plan for today so much as I do like a brief overview of my shenanigans and motorcycles and stuff I kind of went through and thought about this week that I plan on doing with the motorcycle soon. So to start with the first thing, I rode the XS650 the farthest, I believe. Yeah, the farthest that I've rode it yet on Thursday. And oh my goodness, my back is still sore. My glutes are still sore from being like that for 3 hours total, about an hour and a half round trip. Um, that's my first note kind of on that. Second note, these air filters suck. I have got to upgrade those. I got them for like, I'm wanting to say it was 15 bucks for 4 of them on Amazon. I had low expectations. I got low results. So I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in me. Rightfully so. Um, Real quick, I'll show you what kind of air filters I did have and why I'm not running those anymore. So real quick, these were the Unipods. If you can see that. Off of Mike's XS, I think. Maybe TC Bros. But you can kind of see, maybe if I can get that to show up. You might not be able to tell. I had a whoopsie with these last summer. So I was riding this thing down to a buddy's house. My seat tab broke on the way down there. I was closer to his house than I was mine, so I kept on riding. Rode it down, rode it back home that night. Wanted to ride the bike again the next day, so just against my better judgment, don't try this. I welded my seat tab back onto the frame with a tank in place, carbs in place, fuel line right there. Not a good idea. But, air filters sitting right there. They started catching sparks. It ended up smoldering eventually because they get soaked by oil. There is a, I can't remember what they call it, crankcase breather or something or another on the top heads of these XSs. So these things are always getting covered in oil and gas. So they ended up lighting up. Long story short, I bought those to see how they would work. They suck. They don't suck, technically. I think they're not getting enough fuel, or enough air, rather. So I'm having to try and balance it out with my fuel air screw. And it takes with these, I could run the choke, let the bike warm up for 10 seconds, give it a couple rolls of the throttle, and it was ready to go. Those, it's probably 5 minutes of warming up. And I don't have to do that, but if I don't do that, there's a delay in the throttle, and I can't stand that. So I try and let it do that. But yeah, that's a quick touch on those. Third thing, I may end up doing a video on what the stock gearing is on this bike and what I have and the differences. So my dad had one of these brand new. My uncle had one of these brand new back in the day. Both of them say 80 to 90 mile an hour, no big deal. This thing, and if the stock speedo is functioning properly, which I believe it is, 60 mile an hour, it's vibrating so bad that I'm almost sure parts are going to start falling off. So it's geared more towards low end power than it is top end speed, which is fine. It's a hardtail with a rear drum brake. It doesn't need to go super fast. But there's times it'd be nice to go a little faster. So that's a whole nother thing. Other than that, the 3-hour ride went pretty well. On to the Supermoto. I need to touch on him some. We haven't talked about the Supermoto at all. I haven't showed any of the stuff I've done to the Supermoto. I've got a lot of videos planned for it when I get my GoPro. There's going to be a lot of both of these back and forth. Living here in West Virginia, the roads favor more the Supermoto than they do the hardtail. Seeing as how when we get potholes here, they do this cool thing where, so if this is your pothole, they just put a bunch of stuff in it, and then they make it so the potholes a jump. It's kind of cool, unless you're on a hardtail, of course. But yeah, the Supermoto is getting to the point it needs tires. So probably going to do a tire review on that here pretty soon. Whatever I end up going with. I'm debating on hybrids. You know, a tire that can do a little bit of dirt. You know, I'm not going to be doing supercross by any means with them, but maybe some back roads. Of course, there's a lot of those here, but it'll still hang in the twisties. And from what I've read, there's really not a bike that'll do both really well. If anybody's got any comments on that, I would love to know somebody else's review. This is Raven, the poodle, who's currently crashing the show. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to do an update on that of what happened this week between the two bikes. I'm always riding. I put probably between 250 and like 300 miles a week on motorcycles between the two. It's spread more towards the Supermoto than the hardtail, of course. But I'm planning on going and making a trip down to the. If you're from the East Coast, you'll know what I'm talking about probably. But planning on making a trip down to the back of the Dragon pretty soon. I want to go to the tail of the Dragon, but my dad's been there, I think, twice, and everybody I know that's been there says, you know, it is a blast. It's a great time, but it's almost like going to, you know, a beach that's covered in boardwalks. You know, you're really not getting to take in the full thing because there's, you know, you're trying not to be a selfish d-bag and take up the whole road, and make the whole show about you. So, allegedly, the back of the Dragon is as much fun or close to as much fun. It's a little bit longer, I believe, maybe even 3 times as long, twice as long, somewhere in there. But and a lot less people, so that'll be a lot of fun. Buddy of mine just got a new Harley. He bought a bike way back in the day. Me and him used to have a blast riding. Of course, we were younger, did a lot more stupid stuff back in the day, but we should have a more tame ride now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some stuff like that, making a 4-hour one-way trip on the Supermoto. That should be fun for me. Not really, but yeah, I plan on my next video being on the Supermoto. But really, guys, that's about it. You know, I'm still trying to kind of find my way in this whole YouTube thing. You know, what I want to do my videos on. I'm not really able to go out and do the first rides and stuff that everybody loves watching on YouTube, myself included. You know, you love seeing those. You got a bike that's on your target list. You're like, oh, I'll go watch a video on that. I'll watch a video on this, watch a video on that one. But I live about an hour from any Harley dealership. There's one Indian dealership. We got 2 Harley dealerships within an hour. And then we've got a place that's kind of like Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda. All those are about an hour for me. And I'm still, like I said, still working on the GoPro situation, trying to decide what I'm going to do, how to get all that set up. I'm not great on the whole camera thing, man. I'm sure you guys can tell by my editing, but I'm just trying to keep all this real, you know, like you're hanging out here in the garage with me. But yeah, I plan on doing a kind of a weekly update, at least throughout riding season. Probably in the winter, I'll roll over to something like, you know, what I'm working on each week with the motorcycles, because all winter long, you know, I'm changing fluids, I'm painting stuff, I'm tweaking on stuff that I hated throughout the summer that were annoying me. But yeah, that's kind of the end of today's video. That's my plans. That's the weekly update, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good week.